I stand here shaking with fear as I write these words down. It all started years ago during World War II when my parents were taken away by the Gestapo. They told me they would be back soon, but I knew deep down that something terrible had happened to them. As days turned into months and years passed without any sign of them, I realized the truth. They had become part of the devil's gas chamber, like so many others before and after them. My parents fell victim to Hitler's final solution. And yet, as evil as those mass murders were, there was always something more sinister behind them. Something no one could have ever imagined until it was too late. You see, once you died from exposure to that lethal cocktail of chemicals known simply as Zyklon B, your soul didn't go to heaven or hell. Instead, it got trapped in some sort of twisted limbo between realms where only the devil reigned supreme. As luck would have it, I stumbled upon this terrifying fact myself when I became caught up in one of Adolf Hitler's genocidal purges against Romani populations. With no other choice left to save my life, I accepted his offer to serve the Third Reich as an S officer in charge of managing Zyklon B supplies at concentration camps throughout Europe. Little did I know then how closely tied together our fates would become, thanks to the vile properties of that deadly compound. It wasn't long before strange things began happening around me while working at Auschwitz. People who succumbed to the gas exhibited signs of agony beyond imagination, contorting their bodies grotesquely in pain that seemed impossible to endure. And yet, amidst their suffering, there was something even worse lurking just beneath the surface of their skin. Pure malevolence, as if hatred itself lived on inside each cell of every victim now deceased. No matter how hard I tried to ignore these eerie phenomena, I couldn't deny the mounting evidence. Soon enough, fellow officers whispered rumors of bizarre experiments involving Zyklon B conducted by S scientists at Dachau concentration camp inevitably led to even darker revelations that chilled me to my core. One day, an unexpected visitor arrived at Auschwitz under strict secrecy, claiming he possessed classified knowledge directly linked to our work with Zyklon B. He introduced himself as Dr. Maximilian Sinner, a name I recognized immediately as belonging to a top S researcher specializing in paranormal activity related to the occult. From him I learned about Project Morgenruhe, Morning Calm, which aimed to harness the energy of human suffering as fuel for black magic rituals meant to secure German domination over Europe. This madman believed using tortured spirits from the concentration camps as unwilling conduits for accessing forbidden supernatural powers offered a viable path toward victory against the Allies. Dr. Sinner shared documents showing that he had been granted access to hidden archives containing arcane texts describing ancient methods to create gateways between dimensions using potent poisons like Zyklon B as catalysts. To test his theories, he required live subjects from various ethnic backgrounds, poisoned with varying dosages of the gas. In exchange for my silence about such heretical practices, he promised exclusive information pertaining to Himmler's obsession with secret societies obsessed with summoning demonic entities thought lost to history. Unwittingly drawn deeper into intrigues far beyond my wildest nightmares, I agreed to support the doctor's insidious objectives, hoping that proximity to these illicit investigations might provide insight into escaping my own predicament. However, as expected, my involvement quickly morphed into an unimaginable descent into darkness. When reports surfaced linking unusual disturbances in our Zyklon B storage facilities, both Dr. Sinner and I rushed to investigate under cover of night. Arriving at the scene, we discovered several guards missing, along with large quantities of gas canisters mysteriously opened and spilled out. Panicked whispers among the remaining staff spoke of ghostly apparitions resembling former prisoners exacting revenge upon their tormentors. The air itself seemed to carry an otherworldly chill, and the stench of death permeated every corner of the compound. As we ventured deeper into the storage area, the flickering light of our torches cast eerie shadows on the walls, giving the illusion of lurking figures in the darkness. Suddenly, a chilling scream echoed through the corridors, causing us to jump in terror. We followed the sound, fear gripping our hearts, until we reached a small chamber hidden away from prying eyes. Inside, we found a grotesque scene that defied comprehension. Zyklon B canisters floated in mid-air, their lids spinning off and releasing a greenish gas that twisted and writhed like sinister tendrils. And there, suspended in the noxious fog, were the tormented souls of the victims who had perished in the gas chamber years ago. Their spectral forms contorted in agony, their eyes filled with a malevolent glow that chilled us to the bone. Dr. Sinner, who had been the epitome of arrogance and confidence until that moment, now trembled uncontrollably. He whispered in a quivering voice that the souls of the victims had been awakened and were seeking revenge for their unjust deaths. I realized then that the devilish properties of Zyklon B had indeed trapped these souls in a nightmarish purgatory, and we had unwittingly unleashed their wrath. Terrified, we turned to flee, but the door slammed shut with an otherworldly force, trapping us inside the chamber. Desperation set in as we pounded on the door, pleading for our lives. The vengeful spirits closed in, their ghostly forms merging and solidifying into grotesque ethereal beings. They lashed out at us with spectral tendrils, tearing at our flesh and penetrating our minds with unimaginable horrors. Time lost all meaning as we writhed in agony, caught in a torment that transcended the physical realm. The faces of the victims appeared before us, their eyes burning with hatred and despair. They whispered curses and lamentations, their voices a cacophony of pain and anguish. I could feel myself slipping away, my consciousness fading into the abyss. Just as I thought all hope was lost, a blinding light erupted from the center of the chamber. The spirits recoiled in terror, their forms dissipating into smoke. Through the haze, a figure emerged, radiating an aura of purity and strength. It was the embodiment of a force far greater than the malevolence that had plagued us. The figure reached out, and the door flew open, freeing us from our nightmarish prison. We stumbled out, gasping for breath, and collapsed on the cold, unforgiving ground. The chamber behind us fell silent, the specters banished back into the depths of their tortured existence. Dr. Sinner and I survived that night, forever scarred by the horrors we had witnessed. We went our separate ways, haunted by the knowledge of the atrocities we had both been complicit in. The war ended, and the world slowly began to heal its wounds. But the memory of that cursed chamber would forever linger in our nightmares. Years passed, and I dedicated my life to seeking redemption for my past sins. I became an advocate for peace and reconciliation, working tirelessly to ensure that such darkness would never be allowed to flourish again. The atrocities committed during that time would forever serve as a reminder of the depths humanity can sink to when consumed by hatred and ignorance. And still, in the darkest corners of my mind, I hear the whispers of those tortured souls. Their voices serve as a constant reminder of the importance of compassion and understanding. The horrors of the past must never be forgotten, for only through remembrance can we hope to build a better future, a future free from the clutches of evil and the haunting echoes of the devil's gas chamber. For just $3 a month, you can have your name featured in my YouTube videos and descriptions. Not only will you be supporting my channel, but you'll also be immortalized in the credits of my content. If you're looking for something a bit more personalized, consider becoming a $25 a month patron. I'll voice your stories and bring them to life on my channel. Create a special drawing just for you, or even write a unique story tailored to your interests. So don't hesitate. Join my patron community today and help me keep the spooky stories coming. And remember, together we can save each other from the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for your support.